need advice, please. I'm in the process of buying a house. Now I received the OTP to sign. Do I sign the OTP with blank spaces?
No, never.
Good
that's,
answer.
that's the answer. Let me explain very quickly. I actually say there's sort of two that wants to have a baby. The second question is from the same viewer.
Sure.
My,
So, morning all, can I ask if the bank is selling that one?
yeah.
Okay. Can I ask if the bank is selling the house, can I go straight to the bank and buy it if I have cash, or should I buy through an agent?
Brilliant. So that's why I wanted both. Thanks, Bruno.
Sure.
And why I wanted both is I do want to jump back to the signing an OTP with blank spaces. An offer to purchase a deed of sale, call it what you want, a sales contract, whatever name you want to give a contract, where one person is buying an immovable property from another person. In terms of our law, that contract has to be in writing. Now we have fun rules around contracts and what they should comply with. First rule of law of contract, and I think everybody knows this. I think this is one of those things that not only lawyers know. This is one of those things everybody knows. If the parties haven't reached consensus, and consensus, the base definition is meeting of minds. If the parties didn't see, oh yes, this is my obligations, this is my rights, this is your obligations, this is your rights, and we cool with that. If that did not happen, you do not have a valid contract. It's usually not voidable. It's in most instances, when you haven't reached consensus, it's void ab initio. It never happened. Like you couldn't have a contract if there are things that the parties did not agree to. So a contract with blank spaces scares the living daylights out of it. Personally, I will never draft a contract with anything that has to be completed in the body of the contract. So I always draft with a schedule, lekker, with a schedule in the beginning, and then cross-reference in your terms and conditions, for the simple reason that you can't really miss something if it's in a schedule. Because if you miss something and you have blank spaces in your offer to purchase, depending on what is left blank, it could affect the validity of the contract. Let's say, for instance, the purchase price was left open, or the way the purchase price must be paid. Are you getting a bond? Are you paying a deposit? Whatever the case might be. If that is open, if that is left blank, I can't see that you've reached consensus. And that contract, depending, like I said, on what it is, it could be void or voidable. So never sign a contract with a blank space. If you forgot, if you signed a contract with stuff to complete through the body of the agreement, and you accidentally forgot to complete your email address in the notices clause, not a crisis. Does not affect the validity of the contract, because it doesn't change the consensus that the parties reach. It could end with ambiguity, and ambiguity, unless it is excluded from in terms of your interpretation clause, you could have a problem where you are the party responsible for drafting the contract, that if there is ambiguity in the contract has to be interpreted against you. So you could have that risk, but that's not the worst thing. So it depends on what's left blank. But personally, especially as the purchaser, I will never, ever, okay, actually also as the seller, I will never sign a contract with blank spaces, because you might have agreed telephonically that the purchase price would be 1.5 million rand. You get this contract, the seller says, "Nee man, moenie worry nie, I will complete it for you. I'm going to save you some time." And they complete it with 1.8. And now we end up with a rule in law of contract, the extrinsic evidence rule, which is, if you have a contract that is in writing, you are not allowed to bring any evidence outside of that contract. So if you signed a contract with a blank space, to try and convince the court that that was in fact not what you've agreed to, is not really going to happen. So the second question that relates to this is the bank question. If the bank's selling properties, you have cash, can you buy it from direct or should you work through an agent? Same, and that's why I'm saying it relates to all of this. I do like to work through an agent, property practitioners. So if you work through a property practitioner, I can promise you your chances of having a good quality contract, your chances of making mistakes like blank spaces is it's much less. However, most of the banks doesn't necessarily use estate agents. They might make it available through their website or another auction site or something. So if it is available where you don't need to use a property practitioner, you don't have to, you are allowed to contact the bank directly, but make sure, again, you have a proper agreement to back your purchase there. Sure.
Nice. So just on top of that, buying properties. So remember, by the time it gets handed over to an estate agent from the bank, chances are the bank isn't dealing with it directly. Mandates have been signed, so most of these agents have secured the fact that purchasers aren't going to bypass them and try and escape the payment of collection commission. So as soon as I start hearing this question, it's already a bit of a worry because it's always about agents' commission. And yeah, this is when claims for agent commission kind of kick in and people start getting sued for commission for having bypassed them. If you've spoken to the agent, he's taken your number down and you go directly to the bank and it happens that the bank's willing to sell it to you directly and the agent finds out about it, they'd come after you.
Double commission.
Yeah,